Sai Ram. I request for the welcome prayers.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः कालः क्रीडति गच्छत्यायुस्तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशावायुः। भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते प्राप्ते सन्निहिते मरणे नहि नहि रक्षति डुगुरुं करणे। भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। निज परिवारो रतः अष्टाधावति जर जर दे वार्तां पृच्छति कोऽपि न गे। भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गा जललवकणिका पीता सकृदपि यस्य मुरारिसमर्चा तस्य यमः किं कुरुते चर्चा। भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीरक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तामग्नः परमे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न लग्नः। भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम् इह संसारे खलु दुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे। भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते। कस्त्वं गोहं कुत आयात
Om Shri Sai Ram. Shri Satya Sai Seva Organization, the youth wing of Mumbai Metropolitan Region, and the team Shri Satya Sai Anugraham welcomes everybody to the third day of Bhajagovindam explanation titled Delusion to Reality by Brother Subramanian Chidambaram. I hand over the session to Brother Subramanian Chidambaram. Sai Ram.
Namaskaram to all. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
अज्ञानान्तर्गहनपतितान् आत्मविद्योपदेशैः त्रातुं लोकान् भवदवशिका तापपापच्यमानान् मुक्त्वा मौनं बडबिडबिनोः मूलतो निष्पतन्ति शम्भोर्मूर्तिश्चरति भुवने शङ्कराचार्यरूपाम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Namaskaram to all and welcome to the day 3 of the lecture series on Bhajagovindam. So yesterday we saw the verses that helped us understand the reality of the world. Acharya in very simple and effective way put forth what is the nature of the world, the nature of the different things around us that we depend on. Now today we go to the next stage. Okay, we understand what the reality of the world is. Now what do we do? How do we get out of this samsara chakra that we spoke about yesterday? Before that, what we saw yesterday, I'll just recap the points that we saw yesterday. World by nature is uncertain and sorrowful. Know this. Hence, do not search for certainty, the permanence and happiness in the world. You have to deal with the world. It is for the vyavahara. Do the vyavahara with the world, knowing the reality of the world. People around you will love and respect you as long as you are useful to them. Know this and deal accordingly. Your body is impermanent. It cannot be the source of lasting happiness for you. Wealth by nature will create fear, mistrust, hatred. Know this and deal with it accordingly. So in a very succinct way, in the shlokas that we saw, Acharya puts forth these different viewpoints that we saw yesterday. So clearly know that neither your learning or wealth or people, the relationships or your own body can save you from the torturous cycle of birth and death. Now, having known this, our next question is what to do? What is the sadhana that we need to do? That is what we are going to see today. Bhagavad Gita Kinchitadhita Ganga Jalalava Pita Sakridapiyena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena na Charcha. Before explaining, there was a question yesterday of the verse number that is written on the top and the verse number here. Why are the verses not in sequence? As I explained yesterday, the sequence has been designed in such a way so that the ideas which are common can be put forth together and we move from the reality of the world to sadhana to self-realization. To bring that ideas through is what it has been organized. So in the typical text that you would be referring to, the number that is mentioned here, which is 20, that is the number that you would find in the text. The number above is the sequence in which we are doing the shlokas. So this is just for the clarification. So now we are asking Acharya, what do we do? We know the reality of the world, now what? So the Acharya says, Bhagavad Gita Kinchit Adhita. At least learn a little of the Bhagavad Gita. Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. a drop or droplets of the Ganga Jalam. Please drink some droplets of the Ganga Jalam. Sakrit api yena murari samarcha. Even if it is once, Sakrit api yena murari samarcha. Put some flowers at the lotus feet of the Lord, at the image that you have in front of you. Put it in front of that. Put some flowers at his lotus feet. If you do that, kriyate tasya yamena na charcha. The Lord of Death will not have any discussions with you. You are not eligible for any discussion with the Lord of Death. You have reached, you are going towards the path of immortality already. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that we just read one sloka of Bhagavad Gita and now we are saved from death? No, that is not the point. Bhagavad Gita kinchit adhita. Adhita is not just reading. Adhita is reading, listening to it, thinking over it, contemplating on it, and putting it into action. Even if it is one thought, even if it is one message from the Gita, from whatever the innumerable messages the Lord has given in the Gita, even if you take one message and put it into practice all your life, that is enough to save you from this cycle of birth and death. That is what is the message here. Bhagavad Gita kinchit adhita. Ganga jalalava kanika pita. The Ganga Jalam, the river Ganga. See, this is the beauty of our Sanatana Dharma. For us, rivers are not just rivers. Trees are not just trees. Mountains are not just mountains. They are all manifestations of the divine. That is why in the Vibhuti Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord proclaims himself in different Vibhutis, in different forms in the universe. In rivers, I am the Ganga. In mountains, I am the Himalayas, and so on. So all things around you, the nature around you, is all his Vibhuti, is all his manifestation. And one of those divine manifestations is the river Ganga. That is how our ancestors have treated the rivers. All the rivers are sacred in their own respects. And that is the attitude we also need to have towards the environment and nature around us. And that is our Sanatana Dharma. So that Ganga Jalam, even if you drink a bit, you'll be saved. What does that mean? The next time you go to Kashi or Haridwar, you just take a bit of Ganga Jalam and drink. Is that over? Are you saved? No. There is another shlokam of the Acharya called Kashi Panchakam. In that he explains, Kashi Kshetram Shariram Tribhuvana Janani Vyapini Jnana Ganga Bhakti Shraddha Gayeyam Nija Guru Charana Dhyana Yoga Prayagaha Vishweshoyam Tudiyam. That Kashi Panchakam, he says, Kashi Kshetram Shariram Tribhuvana Janani Vyapini Jnana Ganga. What is Ganga? Ganga is not just the physical river that you see. Ganga is Jnana Ganga. She is the eternal, the perennial flow of knowledge, of that supreme knowledge that has been flowing for years together in our Bharatavarsha, in the entire universe. That is Ganga. And that Ganga is what you have to do, Kanika Pita. You have to drink a bit of that knowledge, assimilate a bit of that knowledge. That is being explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Take up one idea of the Bhagavad Gita, put it into practice, and translate it into your own experience. Take up a stream of knowledge, take up a message from the Vedas or somewhere else, and put it into practice. Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. Sakritapiyena Murari Samarcha. Archanam is not just to put flowers. Archanam is to surrender yourself completely at the feet of the Lord. Put a few flowers at the lotus feet of the Lord means surrender yourself completely to the Lord. Kriyade tasya yamenana charcha. Such a person, the Lord of Death doesn't have anything to do with. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dhyeyam Shripati Rupamajasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam. Acharya goes on. Geyam Gita, sing the Gita, sing the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita here refers to the Bhagavad Gita that we saw in the previous shloka. Nama Sahasram, chant the Sahasranamam, the 1,000 names of the Lord. Chant means what? Is it just muttering those names? No. Understand what do they mean. Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaro. Vishwam. The very first name of the Lord is Vishwam. That means he is present in the entire universe. The entire universe is him. That is Vishwam. Vishnu, the one who is spread into each and every being, one who has entered into each and every being in the universe is Vishnu. So those very words bring a sense of grandness, bring a sense of divinity and spirituality in the very words. So sing those names and internalize those names. Dhyayam, while you are doing these, Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram, the beautiful form of the Lord. Dhyayam, meditate, keep it in your mind, constantly focus, meditate on the beautiful form of the Lord while you are chanting these names. See, the name and the form, these are the most important things. The entire world is made up of name and form, Nama Rupam. So, when you're starting your spiritual journey, also you have to start with Nama Rupam. That is what will give you the anchor. So, the Saguna Bhakti is where you start. In Saguna Bhakti, the Namam and the Rupam very important. Chanting of the name and having an image of the Lord to meditate upon. That is what will help the mind focus. So, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram, he speaks about the Nama Japam. Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram, he speaks about the Rupam, the Dhyanam, Rupa Dhyanam that you need to do. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. You're chanting the name of the Lord continuously. You're constantly meditating. Whenever you're chanting, you're meditating on the form of the Lord. On other times, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Don't, the moment you get a break from meditation, don't again go back to the samsara. Don't again go back to your investments. Don't again go back to your stock markets and share markets. Sajjana Sange Chittam. Take, yearn the company of the noble people, yearn the company of the Mahatmas. Sit with them, have a discussion with them, listen to what they are saying. All the Mahatmas, Sajjana Sange Chittam. Keep your mind always busy only with the words and the messages and the discussions and the lectures of the Mahatmas. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Deyam Deena Janaya Cha Vittam. Give liberally. Charity. Do charity. Give dhanam. Now, Deyam Deena Janaya Cha Vittam, Acharya has mentioned in just one line, he has put it. But this dhanam is explained so beautifully in our Upanishads. How to give. Charity doesn't mean, okay, I have a link. Okay, in that link, I have some money in my bank account. I transfer some bank account money into that particular link and I have made charity. And I do 3-4 marketing materials saying that I have donated here, here, here. My name has come here, here, here. Is that charity? Is that donation? Is that what the Acharya is talking about? No. How to give? What is the art of charity? The Upanishads say, Shraddhaya deyam, Ashraddhaya adeyam, Shriya deyam, Kriya deyam, Bhiya deyam, Samvida deyam. How you should give? Shraddhaya deyam. You have to give with faith. It is not that as I am giving, I'm constantly, am I giving to the right person? Is this necessary? Should I give? Somebody is forcing me to give, hence that is not the way to give. Shraddhaya. Firm belief and conviction that this is what I should do. I should give it to this person. That strong faith, conviction is what you should have while you are giving. They could have stopped, the Upanishad could have just stopped with Shraddhaya Deyam. It says Ashraddhaya Adeyam. If you don't have Shraddha, if you don't believe in that person, you don't believe in that act of giving, then don't give. Better not to give. Ashraddhaya Adeyam. Don't give. Shriya Deyam. Give liberally. Shriya. Don't do, you have, based on what you can, your capabilities. You're capable of giving 1,000, then you should give 1,000. Don't give 10 rupees. You're capable to give 10 rupees, give only 10 rupees. So as per your capability, Shriyadeyam. Hriyadeyam. Give with humility. It is not that I have given. It is not, it shouldn't be the result. The result of this shouldn't be pride. Shouldn't be ego that I have given. No. Be humble that you have got the chance, the opportunity to give, which many people don't have. And you have been given that opportunity by the Lord to give, hence I am giving. Hriyadeyam. Bhiyadeyam, it's a very interesting word. Bhiya means be afraid while giving. Why should you be afraid while giving? You're doing a good act, isn't it? Why should you be afraid? Be afraid that you don't land up with ego. Be afraid that this act of giving doesn't land up in arrogance, doesn't land up in pride, doesn't land up in ego within yourself, because this act you're doing to cleanse yourself, not to take on bad qualities more. Bhyadeyam. Give with fear. So these are the different aspects of giving itself. So this Deyam Dina Janaya Cha Vittam, in that one line which Acharya has said, has so much of explanation in the Upanishads. So that is what, to do these activities, this is what are the practical tips the Acharya tells for us to keep our mind occupied, our body occupied, and our activities while we are awake to be occupied. मूढजैः धनागमतृष्णां कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णां यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपात्तं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तम्. Now he says, Moodha, again he comes back to the term Moodha. Oh my foolish man, one who's deluded, with a deluded mind. Jahihi dhanagama trishnam. You are having a trishna. See, trishna, it is not just asha, it is not just desire. Trishna is a beautiful word in Sanskritam which means craving. You are craving for something. When you are thirsty, how will you crave for water? Isn't it? That is craving. You are literally craving. You cannot do without it. Right? Trishna. Like that, Trishna, you are having to dhanagamam, to hoarding of wealth, to amassing the wealth. You are having the craving to amass wealth. Jahihi. Just sacrifice it. Give it up. Don't amass wealth. Don't have that craving to amass. I should have everything. I should have everything. I see something nice. Somebody has something nice. I need it. Until appreciating that it is nice, it's okay. But the moment thought comes to, I need to have it, I need to possess it, that is where the issues start. That is where the problem starts. So, Moodha Jahihi Dhanagama Trishnam. Give up the Trishna, the craving to amass. Kuru Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishnam. Yearn for Sadbuddhi, a good intellect within your mind. Have that good intelligence, have that Sadbuddhi, have that good thought, which will wean you away from this amassing of this wealth, amassing of this dhanam. Yallabhase nija karmopattam. But does it mean that I live like a sacrificing all my wealth and I live like a poor person in rags, give up my clothes, I just walk around without any clothes, I donate everything that I have and I make my family suffer and make everybody suffer? Is that what you're saying then? No. Acharya says, Yallabhase nija karmopattam. You're doing some work, isn't it? You're qualified, you have certain capabilities. As per your capabilities, you are doing some, you are engaged in some kind of a profession, some kind of occupation. Do that occupation with dharma, in a righteous way, in a proper way. Do that occupation, do that profession, do that activity. By doing all that, you will get some money. They will give you some kind of reward for whatever you have done. Yallabhase nija karmopatam. He didn't say any karma. Nija karmopatam, nija karmam, your karma. That is a karma you are supposed to do the way it is to be done. By doing that karma, whatever you get, yallabhase, vittam, that wealth what you are getting, tena vinodaya chittam, entertain yourself with that wealth. That is good enough. As per your capabilities, as per your qualifications, you have got a job, you are earning something, stop there, no? With whatever you are earning, lead a life. What is this greed? I need this. I want to go to the next level of standard of living. Hence, I need to earn this much more. That is where the issue starts. This is purely the essence of what is being said in the shloka. Very, very pertinent. May not go with the modern management theories, but this is the truth we need to realize soon. For us to get peace of mind, if the peace of mind, if the true happiness, finding our true self is our objective, then this applies. If that is not, then this is not applicable. Then actually none of the verses of Bhajagovindam are applicable. They are applicable only when you are objective. Parame brahmani kopi na saktaha. Going to that Brahman, going to that supreme self, finding that true happiness, that is your objective. Then these are the steps that you need to follow. Now, this is here spoken about the wealth. Now let's come to the next part, lust, kamam. Naristana bharanabhidesham drishtva maga mohavesham एतन्मांसवसादि vikaram manasi vichintaya varam varam. Beautiful shloka. What are the different enemies? What are the different vices that catch us? One is wealth, the greed for wealth, amassing more wealth. I need to be more successful. Wealth doesn't mean just wealth, prosperity, different wealth in different forms, name and fame, all of that. If or not all of that, then what is the next one that catches us? Lust, the sexual attraction, physical attraction. Physical attraction to the level of basic enjoyment and procreation is fine, but rampant physical attraction, starting to do wrong deeds, starting to live unrighteously because your hormones have taken possession of you, right? You are under the influence of the hormones. When that kind of a state happens, then he's giving a practical tip, Acharya. He says, Nari stanabhara nabi desham. He's speaking from the perspective of the man. The same applies to the woman also. So it is, you have to treat it with the opposite sex. Nari stanabhara nabi desham drishtva maga moha vesham. Just by looking at the various physical parts of the woman, don't get deluded. Don't get attracted and go and fall into the trap of moham, of delusion. What should you think at that time? It's a practical sadhana. Etan mamsa vasadi vikaram. Immediately, the moment that thought comes into your head, when such a situation happens and such a thought comes into your head, immediately bring the opposite thought. All this is nothing but modification of the mamsam, the flesh, the fat, the marrow, the blood, whatever is there inside the body. It is, this entire physical body is just an outcome of all that, isn't it? So whatever physical parts I am seeing are just but modification of the same things. They are all composed of flesh and blood. The moment I see the flesh and blood, I won't have this attraction, isn't it? Isn't it? So bring that thought in your mind. The moment you need to wean away yourself from that, bring this thought. Etan mamsa vasadi vikaram. Vasa is fat, marrow, mamsam, flesh, blood. All these are the things that are there inside. It is just a modification, vikaram. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. Bring it into your mind continuously. Do like a japam. Continuously bring that thought, and then you will wean away. What a beautiful tip to wean away from lust, from kamam. Immediately when the kamam thought comes, bring this opposing thought. Kate kanta kaste putraha samsaroyamativa vichitraha kasyatvam kaha kuta ayataha tattvam chintayata diha bhrataha. So to wealth he has given a solution. To lust he gave a solution. Then relationships, so entangled in relationships. The Acharya is asking a very practical question. Kate kanta, who is your wife? The same applies the other way. Who is your husband? Who is your spouse? Kaste putraha, who is your child? Samsaroyam ativa vichitraha. The samsara is too vichitra, is too weird. Kasyatvam, of whom are you? Kaha, who are you? Kutaha ayataha, from where have you come? Tattvam chintaya, think. Tadiha brata, oh brother. Now he's referring to you as brother because that compassion is coming now. So he has hit you with the mudgaram, with the musalam. He has hit you, moha mudgaram. Now once you are back to normal and you are wanting to go, now he's patting you by the back. Brata, oh brother. Now think. See, it's a very, even if you just give a thought to it, whenever you have time, please do this. Think, all relationships that we make in the world, how are relationships made? Just think. How do two human beings come together and all of a sudden one day you get married, the next day you say, she's my wife or he's my husband. Where did that relationship happen? How is that bond? Where is that bond resting? Right? You proclaim yourself, you belong to so and so, you belong to so and so, you create belongings, you create relationships. How are these relationships created? It is all created in your own mind. You have convinced yourself that yes, this is what it is, and that conviction is driving, isn't it? And even those relationships which are actual relationships like that of the mother and the child, which are born of the physical, they're all related to the physical nature. It's born out of the physical. From one physical body, another physical body has come, just like it comes in the entire universe. So what? So the here he is not belittling the relations. He is not saying forsake everybody, forsake your wife, forsake your children, forsake your parents, and then go. No, live with them happily. Do whatever is needed for them. Everything has to be done. But while you're doing all that, keep thinking. Don't overly get attached to anything, because the moment you get attached to something, when that something goes away, it is only going to go away, giving you ultimate sorrow. The Upanishads, Yajnavalkya says Maitreyi, he tells Maitreyi very clearly, whatever you like, whatever you get attached to, that thing will always go away, giving you utter sorrow, utter depression. Without giving depression, it will not leave you. And it is bound either that it will leave or you will leave it. Either of the things will have to leave, because none of us are permanent. So either the thing that you're attached to will leave you, or you will leave the thing. So the separation is imminent. And during separation, if you are too attached, you are going to suffer. So that is what the Acharya says. Even when you are lovingly there with everybody, keep all these things in your mind. Think about all these things in your mind, so that you don't get overly attached to something, so that it gives you pain later. काते कान्ता धनगत चिन्ता वातुल किं तव नास्ति नियन्ता त्रिजगति सज्जन संगतिरेका भवति भवार्णवतरणे नौका. Your chinta, the worries, the stream of worries about what? Dhanam, the wealth, my prosperity, my bank accounts, my investments, the deposit rates, the safe deposit rates, the fixed deposit rates going up, coming down. Kanta, about the relationships, the worries that you have, the problems that you have in the family and all your relationships. Vatula, he's calling madman. Oh, madman, you're continuously thinking about all these things. Is there nobody to guide you? You're just lost. You seem to be completely lost in this world, that your thoughts are running random, constantly thinking about the wealth, constantly thinking about your relationships. This is utter nonsense. It's utter nonsensical. Is there nobody? Is there no niyanta? Is there no one to guide you and discipline you? The only thing that you should do, trijagati sajjana sangatihi eka. In the three words, there is only one thing that can discipline you and bring you back, is sajjana sangati. Go to the holy people, go take the company of the holy people. That is the only thing that can save you. See, this sajjana sangati is spoken of highly in probably all scriptures. There is no scripture that doesn't speak about sajjana sangati. When you are in the company of the right people, when you are in the company of the holy, when you are in the company of the spiritual, you automatically become that. That company itself will elevate you. That is the beauty. That is the reason why in our dharma, Sanatana dharma, you have this Tirtha Yatra. What is the point of Tirtha Yatra? Today, unfortunately, it's become tours. It become travel packages. But that is not the objective of a Tirtha Yatra. A Tirtha Yatra, the objective is to be in that company. In every Tirtha, every Tirtham, every temple, every sacred place, you will find this holy men. You'll find these sajjanas who have taken refuge in those places. And when you go to such places, that energy will automatically elevate you. That is the reason you go in search of these tirthas. You want to always, when there is a Mahatma coming close by, you have to go and visit the Mahatma. Whether the Mahatma sees you or doesn't see you is not the problem. You have to go in his presence. You just be there. That is enough. Even if he doesn't see you, it's okay. In his presence, if you are there, that is good enough. That is the greatness of Sajjana Sangati. Trijagati Sajjana Sangati hi eka bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. There is a beautiful story which Swami Vivekananda says. There was a Baba in the north. He was a very well respected sannyasi in the village, but he used to live very frugally in a very small cave which had a very small hole and everything. He used to live very frugally with no possessions, nothing, but he used to feed people. He used to take bhiksha, he used to cook, he used to feed people. All those things he used to do, and he had a few vessels and other things with him for doing all this. One day a thief entered the hut of this Baba. He was extreme. The thief had nothing with him. He had not got any. He couldn't steal anything. So he was utterly desperate to steal something. So there he found some vessels, which the Baba used to cook. So he decided to steal it. He took all the vessels and started moving away. At that time, the Baba comes from somewhere. So the thief notices that the Baba has seen him. He starts running. What does the Baba do? The Baba goes into the hut, takes the food, and he runs behind the thief. So the thief is thinking that the Baba is coming to catch him, and he's running faster. The Baba is constantly calling out to the thief, "Stop, stop," and he's running behind. Finally, he somehow catches the thief. The thief just puts down the vessels and tells the Baba, "Oh, sorry, I had stolen. Please take this back." So Baba says, "I didn't stop you from stealing. Take the vessels. It's okay. But eat something first, You would have come hungry. You have been there, it seems, for a long time here. You would have not had anything to eat. Please eat this and then take the vessels and go." The moment the thief listens to this and he gets the Sharira Sparsham of that Baba, that thief becomes a Baba. He becomes a sannyasi whom Swami Vivekananda visits later. And that thief tells him the story of this other sannyasi. So a thief becomes a sannyasin just by the sparsham and by the words, when by listening and by being in the presence of the greatness. That is what is the Sajjana Sangati that will do. Bhavati Bhavarnava Tarane. For this crossing the samsara chakra, that nauka, that boat is only Sajjana Sangati. There is no other boat. There is nothing else that can take you far. Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kalas sarvam maya mayamidam akhilam hitva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. Now, as you are progressing in your spiritual path, still these things will keep haunting you. You'll still, these kind of thoughts will come suddenly, that I have this wealth, I have to earn this, I have to earn that. Suddenly your mind will get distracted. Or your mind will get distracted into your youth and the other distractions of the youth. Or it will get distracted by your relationships, the problems that they're facing, everything. So what Acharya says, Ma Kuru, don't have pride, garvam, on your dhanam, janam, and yauvanam, on the wealth that you possess, on all the relationships and the people that are there with you, or your youth and your strength and your vigor. Don't have pride or arrogance because of these things. Don't pride yourself on all these things. Why? Because these things can go off in a jiffy. In a second, these things can become nil. A person who is a millionaire today could become a pauper tomorrow. We have seen so many examples in the world of that, isn't it? One stock market crashes and the person goes bankrupt tomorrow, the very next day. We have seen such examples. Jana, he was in a great position and everything. People were very close to him. The very next day, something happens, some scam happens. He is put behind bars or something happens. All his relationships are gone. The Janam that was there the previous day is not there the next day. Yauvanam, one Vyadhi, one disease is enough to make all your Yauvanam zero. And Yauvanam anyway doesn't last for long. So what is the point of priding yourself on all these aspects, which are not permanent at any point and they can go in a jiffy? When such a thing is there, how dare you pride yourself on these, right? Harati nimeshat kala sarvam. In a nimisham, they all go away. Maya mayamidam akhilam hitva. These are all maya. This is all an illusion. It is all an appearance. These are not real. All maya means illusion. Maya doesn't mean false. They say, this is a very popular argument and discussion that happens where people say this, the Vedanta Upanishads say Jagat is Maya. Jagat is unreal. How is it unreal? I am able to see all of you. It doesn't say unreal from the perspective that you don't exist. Yes, you all exist. It is appearance. You're seeing all of them. So for you at that point of time, everything is real. But understand that all of this is just an illusion. It can go away any point of time. Mayamidam akhilam hitva. Leave all this. Brahma padam tvam, that supreme state, that permanent state of happiness that is there within you. Pravisha. Go inside that. Know that supreme state of happiness. Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam Vrata Paripalanam Athavadanam Jnana Vihina Sarvamatena Bhajati Namuktim Janmashatena. Now Acharya is doing a complete palti of what he said in the first shlokam. What did he say in the first shlokam? Bhagavad Gita Kinchitadita Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. At least drink a drop of Ganga Jalam. Now, if you have taken it literally, I also explained it while explaining the shlokam that don't take it literally of drinking the Ganga. So if you take it very literally of whatever has been said, then what you will do? I will say every year I go to the Ganga and take a bath in the Ganga, all my sins are washed away. And after bathing, you do all the sins. It is like the confession you do in the church. So it is not like that, that you go to the Ganga, all sins are washed away, and then you are free to do many more sins. Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. So the person is saying, I go to Ganga Sagaram. Every year I go to Haridwar, Rishikesh, take bath in the Ganga. Vrata Paripalanam. I do so many vratas. Ekadashi Vratam, Dwadashi Vratam, Chaturthi Vratam, all the Vratams I do. I do Dhanam. Acharya only told us to do Dhanam. I do a lot of charity. I am the most charitable person. So I do Dhanam, I do Vratam, I do Ganga Sagaram. I am the greatest person. I am going to get liberation. No. Jnana vihinaha sarvamatena bhajati na muktim janmashatena. If you continue like this for even 100 or 1,000 births, you will not get liberation. Why? All this is for something. These are all not just physical activities. All these activities have to lead you to something more internal. For you to start thinking, jnana vihinaha. If you still remain at that level only, that doing these activities is going to give me liberation, you are mistaken. Activity is only a stepping stone for you to start thinking of who you are, what is the reality, where is the source of happiness, and search for that Lord who is the creator and the source of all happiness. Only when you reach that Lord, that is when you get liberation, not until then. So here he very clearly criticizes only doing karma. Karma has to be done. That is what we are doing sadhana. But it has to be done as an instrument, as a tool to achieve jnana, to achieve the supreme knowledge, and not an end in itself. Karma is not an end in itself. You have to go beyond. Kamam krodham lobham moham tyaktvatmanam bhavayakoham atmajnana vihina mudaha te pachante naraka nigudhaha. All these enemies, kamam, krodham, lobham, moham, the lust, the desire, that translates into anger, lobham, greed, moham, delusion. Give up all this. These are not going to help you at all. Tyaktva, atmanam bhavayakoham. Think, who are you? What is your true nature? What is that source of happiness? Permanent source of happiness. From where will I get it? Where is that Lord that I am searching for? Where is he? Bhavaya. Think about it. Atmajnana vihina mudaha, the person who does not do this kind of an inquiry. Te pachyante naraka nigudaha. He will rot and he will be burnt in hell. He uses very strong words. So irrespective of you doing hundreds of nice karmas, you're doing puja every day, you're going to the temple every day, you're doing so many dana dharmas, you're doing so many vratas, you're chanting so many shlokas, you're singing so many bhajans, all that is fine. But if all that is not going to help you leave your kamam, krodham, lobham and moham and make you go towards the next step of finding your true self and true potential, you are definitely going to get burnt and rot in hell. That is a clear statement. Pachyante, you will be cooked. That is the word he uses. Pachyante, cooking. You will be cooked in hell. Naraka nigudaha. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kuruvavadhanam ahadavadhanam. From this shloka onwards, this also Acharya speaks about the different things that you need to do. But I think this probably we will take it up tomorrow along with the shlokas that we are going to do on self-realization. So the two shlokas, this and the next one that I plan to do today, we can take it up tomorrow at the beginning and then continue with the shlokas. So I stop it here today so that if there are any questions also that we can attend to right now.
Saira,
Sairam.
if any questions, I request you to please write it in the chat box so that it is easier for us to understand the question and we will pass it on to the speaker. There is one question from yesterday's session. Brother, your views on the discussion between Acharya and Chandala. So if you can please.
Yeah. So the interaction between the Acharya and the Chandala happens when the Acharya was in Kashi. This is another incident. So when Acharya and his Shishyas, they were going, either they were coming from Ganga after the Ganga Snanam or they were going on the ghats. At that time, you would have seen those who have visited Varanasi, Kashi, you know that the lanes of Kashi are very narrow. Okay, so even if one person goes and a a cow or a buffalo comes from the other side, you are stuck there because the space is only that much. So Acharya and his Shishyas are going through one of these bylanes, and a Chandala, who is supposed to be from a strata of the society, the lowest rung of the society, along with his dogs and everything. He's there, he's standing there, he's coming from the other side. So there are many versions of the story, but the version probably more authentic should be that some of the Shishyas of the Acharya, they tell the Chandala to move away because they are still in the mental state that the Sannyasin and the Brahmin is the higher caste and Chandala is a very low Shudra. How can he touch us? If he touches us, we have to go and take bath again. So with that kind of a viewpoint in their head, they ask the Chandala to move, to give way. So the Chandala is asking, whom are you asking to give way? Is it the body or is it the Atma? If you are asking the body to move away, the body cannot move away. The body is inert. So there is no possibility of body moving anywhere. If you're asking the Atma to move away, where the Atma will move? The entire world is full of the Atman. Atman is Sarvavyapi. So what are you asking to move away? The Shariram or the Atma? So the moment the Chandala, these words come out of the Chandala, Acharya realizes that this is not a mere Chandala. It is Parameshwara himself who has come in the form of a Chandala to do Bodhanam, to bring them back on the track. And then the Manisha Panchakam, the 5 shlokas where he says that even if my Guru is a Chandala, doesn't matter, but if these words come out of the Guru, I will treat him as my teacher, as my preceptor. So that's the story of the Acharya and the Chandala.
Thank you. The next question is, how do we know how much we have progressed in our spiritual sadhana?
This is something that cannot be answered in a general way, because this is very specific. It's based on your Guru and your sadhana, the spiritual position you are in. So this can only be judged by your Guru, right? So we cannot give a common prescription that if this happens, then you have progressed. We cannot give some standard metrics for that. That is why even in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is asking Krishna, what are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna, the Lord gives very superficial, on top qualities. He doesn't go into the details of it because it is very difficult to do that, because each person is in a very different level of maturity. So to say that if this happens, then you're spiritually matured is very difficult. But even then, you can always say that the more and more you become peaceful inside, that can be considered as one of the key metrics. The more and more you become peaceful inside, you don't get disturbed very fast. The conflicts inside you are lessened. You have lesser conflicts. You become more peaceful. You get lesser disturbed. These aspects can be treated as you are moving towards the path. You are on that path. And also sleep. These are all very detailed discussions. Sleep. The more you get sound sleep, that is sleep without any dreams, lesser dreams, more sound sleep, extremely refreshing sleep, is also an indication of the mental state, the inner state that you are in, which is also indicative of spiritual sadhana.
Saira, the next question is, like Duryodhana, we can know what is right to do, yet something prevents from acting upon it. Is there any guidance on this from Acharya?
Yes, that is what we said yesterday, that there are examples where people, you know that by doing this, things will happen. But Acharya says, still you do that Papa Charanam, you still do it. And that is, Acharya puts it as a fact. And that is a fact, as you rightly pointed out, and you would have seen in your own life and all our experiences also, that we know something is wrong, but still somehow we are still attracted by doing that. We still like doing that. So that has to be only overcome through our free will. You have a free will, right? You know this is right. So it is you have to take the first step there. So when you are trying to do that activity, what is it that is controlling you? So you're not doing it by choice. You're doing it under force, under the influence of something, right? So stop doing things under the influence of something. Start doing things consciously. Start doing things by choice. Think before doing every activity. And if it is wrong, what is it that prevents you from not doing that activity? Think. So this is not single formula that will work. It is out of practice. Maybe the first time while you are doing your thinking, you know that it is wrong, still it is impossible for you to not do it. Fine. The next time, again the same thing happens, again you should not land up in the same situation. Now you should have improved. Now probably you know it is wrong and you are taking some action to ensure that you don't do it. So that is the progress in life that you need to do. This is purely free will. You have to take that call from your side.
So there's two questions actually I can club it together. It's like
Okay.
in present day education makes you to become very competitive in the world. So how to get contented in such atmosphere? And the second one is how to calm our mind.
Beautiful questions. So competition, Matsarya Bhavam, is one thing that is a big no-no in spirituality. And Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna puts it very clearly. A bhakta means he should be nirmatsara. Matsaram should never be there in a sadhaka who's on the path and he wants to really realize himself his fullest potential. Matsaram cannot be there, competition cannot be there. So the moment there is competition, it's a big no-no. So that's a clarity. Now, I don't want to get into the discussion of modern day education and all this. That's a very separate topic in itself. But for spiritual sadhana, competition is a no-no. Even otherwise, competition means what? You are trying to attain the same thing as somebody else. The question here is, are you and the other person of the same capability and the same potential for you to get the same thing? May not be. So the spiritual sadhana is about inner transformation, inner journey, trying to figure out who you are. And in trying to figure out who you are, whom will you compete with? There is nobody to compete with because each person has to understand his own self. And there is nobody else who can understand it for him. So there is no competition in spiritual sadhana. So the moment you come to spirituality, there is no competition because it's an inner journey. It's about realizing your potential. It is not about realizing somebody else's potential. That is one thing. Now, how to make our mind calm? Yes, this is one of the means of making the mind calm is not to have matsaram, right? And constantly forcing yourself to be contented. How will you be contented? Whenever you become discontented, find the reason why you are becoming discontented. When you are, see, there is always these situations arise in life, and there are many cases where you also would have become calm. There is a moment or a few moments when suddenly everything becomes very calm and very blissful. You feel very happy. You know, your mind becomes simply calm. At some moments, you realize that. After some time, again, it starts thinking and getting disturbed. So now the main point is for you to consciously find out what is it that is disturbing your mind. What is it that caused that calm mind to become disturbed? Then start finding the root causes. Until the root causes are completely uprooted, the ultimate state is not going to be achieved. Do not fool yourself. By doing meditation for about half an hour or 1 hour, the mind becomes calm. Do not fool yourself that you have attained liberation. This is a very wrong thought process that we have today. It is only relaxation. Your mind has just, the thought process has stopped, it got suspended for some period of time. They will definitely come back because as long as your impressions and vasanas are there in you, thought process will never stop. So the main objective in sadhana, in spiritual sadhana, is to uproot your vasanas and impressions. And that can only be done by going deeper and deeper because your vasanas only you will be able to find out through your own introspection. And the mind becomes completely calm only when the vasanas are completely uprooted.
We go to the last question for the day. Does Bhajagovindam in present state address only the educated who can read and understand Sanskrit?
No, of course not. Now we are doing the Bhajagovindam session here. So though maybe there are few people who understand Sanskrit, but very well, we are giving you the translation. We are trying to explain to you in your language. So the message is still coming through to you, isn't it? See, this is common for any scripture. A scripture is written in a language. The moment you lose touch with that language, it's going to be difficult for you to understand and decode what the scripture is, which is also a fallacy in our country, unfortunately, that we have lost in touch with this beautiful language in which most of our scriptures are. But being the state what it is, there is nothing wrong in taking translation to start with. Until you develop an interest to learn the language, take a translation of an authentic source whom you believe is authentic. whom you have seen many people respecting and accepting, take that source of translation and go ahead. I think it is very much for everybody. I think the translations and many people have done these things, which has helped a lot of people around who don't know the language as well. So I don't think that should be a barrier.
There are more and more questions coming on, but because of the time constraint, what we'll do is like we'll take those questions tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brother Ramkumar.
Yeah, tomorrow actually we'll be having only about 10 shlokas to complete. So maybe we'll complete those shlokas and we'll devote a lot amount of time for the questions. So please make note of it. We will answer these tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brother Ramkumar, and the wonderful viewers we have over here. I request for the closing prayer, please.
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्
समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शांति शांति जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की